Traps are a big part of 7 Days to Die's base building, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at all of them, how to use them, and some weird little details you should really know when you're using them. Oh, and today I will not be talking about landmines. I covered those in a dedicated explosives video a while ago. I'll be doing all of the traps you see on screen right now. Anyway, let's get into it. The first traps we should cover are the basic block traps. These are crafted in your inventory for basic resources and they do a small amount of damage and then break. The first one is the wood spike trap. The wood spike trap costs 20 wood and each time something walks into it, it will take 33 damage. Now, in this case, that damage is actually not affected by difficulty. Generally, raising the difficulty of the game will reduce the damage you deal to enemies. But some traps are not affected by this, and some are, and it's not very consistent, so for each of them, I will just tell you if difficulty matters. And as I said, the wood spike is completely unaffected by difficulty, so it'll do 33 damage on all difficulties. This trap can hit 3 things before it breaks, allowing it to do a total of 99 damage. It will damage you, other players, and of course zombies and animals. You cannot get XP for kills with these. Even with the perk I'll mention later, they just never give you XP for kills, so that is something to consider. A very similar trap we have is the iron spike trap. This one also does 33 damage, which is also not affected by difficulty. This one though can survive 12 hits without breaking, allowing it to deal a total of 396 damage before breaking. It also damages you, other players, and enemies. As with the wood version, you'll never get XP from these, and they cost 4 forged iron to craft. Then we have barbed wire. Barbed wire is a little bit different from the others. Instead of doing lots of damage, the barbed wire block focuses on slowing down enemies and lasting a longer amount of time. Barbed wire does a measly 1 damage per hit, but it does survive 33 hits. So it deals 33 damage overall, but it's more about slowing zombies down. It costs 8 iron and 10 wood to make, it's unaffected by difficulty, and it'll never give you XP. Spike traps are very good early game base defenses for important areas of your base that you think may take damage on Horde Night, so you can pad them out with these spike traps to keep the stragglers away from your walls or foundations. Barbed wire is very nice if you need to slow zombies down. For example, if you have a short walkway and you don't have electric fences yet, you can place a bunch of these for a similar effect. Carrying spikes around with you throughout the game is also not a bad idea, as they're free damage, they cost no stamina, they're unaffected by difficulty, so they can really hit hard if you place them well, like in doorways or other types of openings. Let's move up to the more sophisticated trap, shall we? The blade trap requires power and it will use 20 watts of power when activated. These spin in a 3x3 block space and pretty much anything that walks into it while it's spinning is gonna have some trouble. It does 20 damage per hit, but this is actually affected by difficulty unlike the previous traps. So on Nomad it'll do 20 damage and over on Insane is going to do 10 damage. The blade trap has 2000 health, but it will only spin while it's above 25% health. This stops it from spinning itself to death, allowing cheap repairs with just steel. This means that assuming you didn't repair it at all, the blade trap would do 375 hits before breaking, allowing you to do a base of 7500 damage on Nomad, or half that on Insane. To craft one, you're going to need a workbench first, and then it'll cost you 15 forged iron, 15 forged steel, 12 mechanical parts, and 15 oil. This trap will not give you XP by default, but the advanced engineering perk in the intellect tree will allow you to get up to half of the XP for kills with the electrical traps like this. It'll also reduce the crafting cost of all electrical devices by up to 35%. So with rank 5 of advanced engineering, a blade trap is going to cost you 10 forged iron, 10 forged steel, 8 mechanical parts, 6 electrical parts, and 10 oil. It's also worth noting that blade trap bundles are very common in tier 5 POIs, so you might get lucky and find a bundle of 10 of these in the end of dungeon loot. I'd recommend not using these as replacements for spike traps because they're very expensive to replace and you'll usually lose a lot of them if you do that on late game hordes. Instead, it's often a good idea to have them in places you can directly repair them, preferably from your fighting position. Having 10 blade traps that all need to be fully replaced is just not as useful or cost effective as just having one blade trap that you can keep applying steel to throughout the night. Placing them at head height is generally a good idea. You can even make bases that force zombies to crawl through blade traps to get to you. I believe Jawoodle did a video on that a few months ago if you want to know more. The next electrical trap that we need to cover is the electric fence. Electric fences require 5 watts of power each, but you'll need a minimum of 2 of them to work, and the way you make them work is by connecting a power source to one post and then that post to the end post. The wire between them will be electrified when power is applied, and that is denoted by the blue dotted line. Each post has 200 health, but they will stop working at 25% health, so they effectively have 150 health, which equates to 300 applications of the stun effect. Only the post receiving that electrical wire will actually take the damage from use, so you only need to keep an eye on one end of your electric fence. It does approximately 24 damage per hit over the course of the stun, but it's unreliable for dealing damage. Much like barbed wire, it's all about that slow. The damage is affected by difficulty and it will damage all targets. When zombies walk through the wire, they'll be stunned in place for about 4 seconds before being able to move forward. I like to layer mine to keep them constantly stunned until they reach me. You can also do a strat that involves just one of these fences, where you have a thin bridge, an electrical fence on a pillar at the end, and a fence at you, and you can electrify the entire bridge with just one wire, but that's going to be a little bit more risky, as if you lose that one post, you lose all of your electric fence. Definitely arguments to be made for both strategies. I definitely prefer mine. It's more expensive, it's less space efficient, but it's much more reliable and safer. To craft a fence, you'll need 7 forged iron in the electrical parts, but remember, you'll need 2 for it to work, so effectively it's 14 forged iron and 6 electrical parts to make a functioning trap. And with Advanced Engineering 5, one fence becomes 5 iron and 2 electrical parts, or if you want a full working unit, 10 forged iron and 4 electrical parts. These are by far my favourite trap in the game. They're very easy to use and they don't constantly break on me, unlike blade traps. They don't consume ammunition, they just use cheap forged iron and electrical parts to replace. And my one issue with them would be they're very loud and they cause a decent amount of lag. But the blade trap also causes lag with all the spinning animations, and the next trap is also quite laggy because it has projectiles. So most electrical parts are just going to cause laggier Horde Knights in general. Speaking of that next trap, we have the dart trap. The dart trap fires darts out of the front continuously if it has power. It uses 10 watts of power and requires darts to be able to fire. The dart can be crafted at the forge for 3 iron and 1 clay. You can load them by pressing E on the trap and dragging the darts over to the slots, and you can fill it with up to 1500 darts. And this is the important part. Look at me, listen carefully. Lock the ammo. If you don't lock the ammo, it will not fire. This is true of all ammo based traps. Comment below telling me you'll remember to lock the ammo. I am not kidding, do it. This homework is not optional. Now the dart trap won't use any durability when firing, thankfully, as it already has ammo to worry about, but each shot does 45 damage, so if all 1500 darts from the trap were to hit a target, you would do an insane 67,500 damage, which for some reason is completely unaffected by difficulty, so it's always 67,500, but that's relying on you hitting every single shot, which is not impossible but not guaranteed by any means either. These are best paired with a trigger like a tripwire, pressure plate, motion sensor, or hell even just a manual switch, so you can just turn it on when there's zombies. To craft one, you'll need 31 forged iron, 9 mechanical parts, 6 electrical parts, and 7 oil. With advanced engineering, you can do it for 20 forged iron, 6 mechanical parts, 4 electrical parts, and 5 oil. As usual, you will not get XP unless you have advanced engineering. That's a lot of traps, but we still have 2 more to go, the shotgun turret and the SMG turret. The shotgun turret seems to do about 70 damage on Nomad and about 35 on Insane, so yes, this is affected by difficulty, and this is actually regardless if you fire it from the internal display or if it fires automatically. The damage will of course vary at range because it's a shotgun. If the shotgun has power, you can manually point it and fire it by pressing E and pressing on this little window and then controlling it with standard gun controls. But if you're not doing that, it will fire at anything you tell it to target, those being strangers, zombies, allies, and you. It uses 15 watts of power, It costs 62 forged iron, 15 scrap polymer, 15 oil, 1 motion sensor and 4 shotgun parts, and with advanced engineering rank 5 that would become 40 forged iron, 10 scrap polymer, 10 oil, 1 motion sensor and 3 shotgun parts. But it is worth noting that you can get them in bundles very commonly. Shotgun turrets are mainly just a good way of using extra shotgun ammo if you're not playing a shotgun build yourself and you have boxes of extra shells. They only accept basic shotgun ammo though, so you can't use slugs or breaching slugs. I've not found a lot of use for these in my years of playing the game, but I'm told they're okay dealing with vultures on your roof. But I'd like to hear some of your guys' ways of using these turrets below in the comments. What I prefer to use is the SMG turret. One, because I usually do shotgun builds and often have no spare shells, plenty of 9mm which the SMG turret uses, and 2, the SMG turret is a little bit more versatile range-wise. Let's take a look at it. The SMG turret does 32 damage on Nomad with a body shot, and 16 damage on Insane with a body shot. Like the shotgun turret, it will not damage you. And I forgot to mention this before, headshots do work on both of these weapons. And again, they are affected by range, but the SMG turret has much better range than the shotgun turret. By the way, the SMG turret is far safer to use around demolition zombies than its robotic turret counterpart. As they were buffed in Alpha 20, they basically just avoid hitting the demo button. I'm not going to say 100% guaranteed not to hit the demo button, but it has been made a lot less likely, and I've personally never had an SMG turret hit a demo button in Alpha 20. For those of you who are new, demos go boom when you shoot the button, and that is bad. To craft an SMG turret, you'll need 1 motion sensor, 46 forged steel, 4 handgun parts, 15 oil, 7 scrap polymer, and with advanced engineering 5 that becomes 1 motion sensor, 30 forged steel, 3 handgun parts, 10 oil, and 5 scrap polymer. As with all electrical traps, you'll need a workbench to craft this, and you'll need advanced engineering to get XP from kills with it. It uses 15 watts of power. Now that you know all about traps in 7 Days to Die, why not catch up on the other aspects of electricity in this video here. It's an old video, but the information is still good. Thank you to my channel members and patrons for making this video possible, and thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.